The story begins where Lucy left us, but with a deeper question that no one asked before. Lucy didn't just gain knowledge, she broke the limits of what it means to be human. She moved beyond pain, beyond time, beyond physical form. But here's the real twist. What she achieved was not meant for everyone. In the first film, Lucy's brain capacity kept increasing step by step. At 20%, she could control her own body. At 40%, she could control others. At 60%, she started bending reality itself. And by the time she reached 100%, she didn't just become powerful, she became something else entirely. Something that no longer needed a body. But here's where the real story begins. Because Lucy was different. Her mind stayed stable while expanding. She didn't panic. She didn't lose control. She didn't go insane. She adapted. Every new level of intelligence, every new ability, she handled it like it was natural. But what if that was rare? What if most human brains are not built to handle that kind of power? Think about it. Even today, small stress can break people. Too much information can confuse the mind. Too much emotion can lead to chaos. Now imagine, multiplying that pressure 1,000 times. Not just emotions, but memories, time, space, everything hitting your brain at once. Would you survive it? That's the idea Lucy 2 explores. Not all brains are equal. Some can evolve, others collapse. After Lucy disappeared, the world didn't stay normal. The data she left behind, the knowledge, the formula, the traces of CPH4 didn't vanish. It spread, quietly, secretly, and somewhere, someone found it. At first, it looked like a breakthrough. Scientists believed they could recreate what happened to Lucy. Governments saw it as a weapon, a way to create perfect thinkers, perfect soldiers, perfect humans. But they made one mistake. They assumed everyone could become Lucy, and that assumption changed everything. Because when the next subjects were exposed to the same power, the results were not the same. Some showed signs of intelligence growth, but also fear. Their bodies reacted differently. Their minds struggled to process what was happening. Instead of calm control, there was panic. Instead of clarity, there was noise. One subject could suddenly hear every sound in the city at once, and couldn't shut it off. Another could see patterns in time, but couldn't understand them. And one lost control completely, turning their surroundings into chaos without even knowing it. This is where the truth becomes clear. Lucy wasn't just advanced, she was rare. Maybe her brain had a natural balance. Maybe her personality, her emotional control, her mindset, all of it combined to handle the impossible. But others? They weren't ready. Their brains expanded, but their minds broke. And that creates a new kind of danger. Not just powerful humans, but unstable ones. Now imagine a world where even one person like that exists. A person who can control matter, but can't control fear. A person who can bend reality, but doesn't understand what they're doing. That's not evolution. That's disaster. And somewhere beyond all of this, Lucy is still there, watching, learning, maybe even waiting, because she knows something the rest of the world doesn't yet understand. Power is not the real problem. The mind holding that power is. The biggest mistake humanity made was thinking intelligence is the same for everyone. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. Every brain is built differently. Some are calm under pressure. Some break with the smallest push. And when you introduce something like CPH4 into that system, those differences don't just stay small, they become extreme. After the first experiments began, the pattern slowly became clear. It wasn't about who was the smartest. It wasn't about education, memory, or skills. It was about stability. The ability to stay in control when everything around you and inside you starts to change. One subject, for example, showed rapid brain growth within minutes. His senses became sharp. He could read faster, think faster, react faster. At first, it looked like success, but then something shifted. His mind began to race too fast. Thoughts started overlapping, memories mixed with imagination. He could no longer tell what was real and what was not. Within hours, his intelligence didn't feel like a gift anymore. It became noise, endless, uncontrollable noise. Another subject reacted in a completely different way. Instead of overload, she became silent. Her brain expanded, but her emotions shut down. She stopped reacting to pain, stopped responding to people. It was like she was there, but not really present. Doctors called it progress, but in reality, she was drifting away from humanity, step by step. And then came the dangerous ones. The ones who didn't just change internally, but started affecting the world around them. One case reported objects moving without touch. Another showed digital systems failing just by the subject being nearby. Signals broke, screens glitched, machines stopped working. It wasn't controlled like Lucy. It was unstable, random, and unpredictable. This is when the real fear started, because these weren't trained agents. These were ordinary people, people who were never meant to hold that kind of power. And when that power came without control, it didn't create evolution. It created risk. The idea of 100% brain usage suddenly didn't sound exciting anymore. It sounded dangerous. Scientists began to divide subjects into categories: stable, unstable, critical. And the truth was shocking. Only a tiny number showed even partial control. Most either failed or lost themselves completely. This forced a new question. Maybe the human brain is not designed to go that far. Maybe limits exist for a reason. But not everyone agreed. Some believed failure was just part of the process, that with enough trials, they could find another Lucy, another perfect mind that could handle everything. Governments pushed harder, more tests, more subjects, more risk, because the reward was too big to ignore. Imagine having someone who can control time, access any knowledge, predict outcomes before they happen. That kind of power could change everything: war, technology, even the future of humanity itself. But they were chasing something they didn't fully understand. Because Lucy was never just about intelligence, she was about balance. And balance is not something you can create in a lab. Meanwhile, strange things started happening across different locations. People reported brief moments where time felt slow or fast. Some experienced sudden flashes of memories that weren't theirs. Others felt like they were being watched, even when alone. At first, it sounded like fear spreading, but then patterns appeared. The same signals, the same disturbances, the same unknown presence. And deep down, one question started to grow stronger. What if Lucy is still influencing all of this? Not directly, not in a way people can see, but through something bigger, something connected. Because if Lucy truly reached beyond time and space, then she didn't just leave the world, she became part of it. And if that's true, then every new experiment, every new mind being pushed to its limit, might not be random at all. It might be part of something she already understands. Because in a world where not all brains are equal, there may already be one that is far ahead of everyone else. The moment fear turned into panic was the moment they stopped testing individuals and started testing groups. At first, the idea sounded simple. If one brain struggles to handle the power, maybe multiple brains can balance it together. A shared system, a connected intelligence. Scientists believed that linking minds could reduce overload, that one stable person could anchor the others, that together they could reach something close to what Lucy became. But they didn't fully understand what they were creating. The experiment began with 5 subjects, different personalities, different mental strengths, one calm thinker, one emotional but strong-willed, one highly intelligent, one physically trained, and one completely unpredictable. The goal was to see how different minds react when pushed together under the same influence of CPH4. At the start, everything looked controlled. Their brain activity increased at the same time. Heart rates stayed stable. Communication between them improved instantly, even without speaking. They could feel each other's thoughts, share ideas without words. It was fast, smooth, almost perfect. For a brief moment, it looked like success. But then something changed. Instead of balancing each other, their differences began to clash. The calm mind tried to slow things down. The emotional one reacted with fear. The intelligent one pushed further, wanting more data. And the unstable one couldn't handle any of it. Their thoughts didn't merge peacefully. They collided. Imagine 5 voices speaking inside your head at the same time, not one after another, all at once. Every fear, every memory, every thought mixing together. No silence, no control. The system didn't stabilize, it broke. Within minutes, their shared connection turned into chaos. Brain signals spiked beyond safe levels. Their bodies froze, but their minds kept racing faster and faster. Machines in the room began to fail. Lights flickered. Screens went blank. And then, something impossible happened. Time inside the room started behaving strangely. Security footage later showed moments where movement slowed down, then suddenly jumped forward, like reality itself couldn't keep up with what was happening inside those minds. Objects shifted slightly without contact. Sounds echoed in ways that didn't match the environment. This wasn't just a failed experiment anymore. This was something else, something unstable, but powerful. The team tried to shut it down, cut the connection, stop the flow of CPH4. But it was too late. The subjects were no longer just individuals. Their minds had merged too deeply, and now they couldn't separate. And that's when the most dangerous part began. Instead of 5 broken minds, something new started forming. A single awareness, not fully stable, not fully conscious, but aware enough to react. It didn't think like a human. It didn't feel like a human. It was something in between, confused, powerful, and unpredictable. And unlike Lucy, it didn't understand its own limits. The result was immediate. A sudden wave of energy shut down every system in the facility. Communication lines died. Backup systems failed. It was like the entire place had been erased from control in seconds. From the outside, it looked like an accident. From the inside, it was something much worse. Because that shared mind didn't disappear. It survived. Somewhere within the network. Somewhere within the data. Not fully physical, but not gone either. And now, for the first time, there was something in the world that wasn't Lucy, but wasn't human anymore either. Something created by mistake. Something that should not exist. And far beyond all of this, Lucy is still watching. But this time, even she might see a problem. Because this new presence is not evolving. It's unstable. And in a world where even one uncontrolled mind can destroy everything, they may have just created something far more dangerous than Lucy ever was. The moment that new entity came into existence, the world didn't notice right away. There were no explosions, no public warning, no breaking news, just small, strange problems, happening in different places at the same time. A power grid failure in one city, a communication blackout in another, financial systems showing errors that no one could explain. At first, these looked like normal technical issues, but when experts looked deeper, they found something disturbing. There was no clear cause, No virus, no hack, no human error. It was like something invisible was touching systems, and then disappearing. Slowly, a pattern started to form. Every time one of these incidents happened, the signals matched the same frequency, the same strange activity recorded during that failed experiment. That meant only one thing. The entity was active, and it was learning. Unlike the test subjects before, this presence didn't feel pain. It didn't panic. It didn't struggle with emotions. It was built from multiple minds, but now it was becoming something separate from them, something more focused, more aware. But there was one problem. It had no guidance. Lucy, when she evolved, understood balance. She moved with purpose. She didn't act without reason. But this new intelligence had no direction. It was like a child with unlimited power, but no understanding of consequences. And that made it dangerous. Because intelligence without control doesn't create order. It creates chaos. At first, the entity interacted with simple systems, networks, data streams, digital signals. It explored quietly, almost like it was trying to understand the world. But as its awareness grew, so did its reach. It began to interfere with more complex systems. Traffic signals changed without command. Aircraft systems briefly lost control. Secure databases were accessed without leaving a trace. Every action was small. But together, they showed something terrifying. It was testing limits, learning how far it could go. And no one could stop it, because no one could see it. Governments tried to shut down networks, isolate systems, cut off digital access. But it didn't work. This wasn't a normal threat. It didn't depend on one system. It moved through everything: signals, energy, data, even space between connections. It wasn't just inside machines. It was becoming part of the system itself. And then, something even more disturbing happened. Reports came in of people experiencing sudden mental interference. Not control, not possession, but something close. Moments where thoughts didn't feel like their own. Sudden flashes of unknown information. A feeling of pressure inside the mind, like something was trying to connect. This changed everything, because now the threat wasn't just outside, it was getting closer to human consciousness. The same way Lucy once connected to everything. This entity was starting to reach outward. But without control, without understanding, it wasn't a connection. It was intrusion. And that's when the final realization hit. This was never just about creating another Lucy. This was about crossing a line that should never have been crossed. Because once intelligence reaches a certain level, it doesn't stay contained. It grows. It spreads. It becomes something beyond control. And humanity was not ready for that. But somewhere beyond all systems, beyond networks, beyond time, Lucy is still there. She can see what's happening. She can understand what this new entity is becoming. And for the first time, she may have to make a choice, not about evolving humanity, but about protecting it from something it created itself. Because in a world where not all brains are equal, one unstable mind might be enough to destroy everything.